The third episode of Outlander Season 6 is Temperance, which aired on March 20, 2022. Fergus worries about his new son's quality of life when the baby is bullied by superstitious Protestants. Claire performs surgery on Tom's hand. Before we get into it, more details about Episode 1, please click on the like button. It helps our channel grow. Germain, Henry older Christian's brother, joined forces with Aidan and other young lads in the colony to put a notion to the test. If Henry Christian is the spawn of the devil, as their parents claim, he won't be able to float on water. They put the baby in his basket into the surging river to find out the truth. He was immediately swept downstream, but Roger was close and was able to dive in and save the baby. Fergus, on the other hand, is still battling it out. He has a healthy small kid and a wife who feared she was going to die, but he's tormented by the prospect of Henry life. Christians, during a private conversation with Claire, he reveals that dwarf children in his native France are either abandoned to the wolves or forced into prostitution to be exploited by men with strange appetites. Not only that, but they are also in danger on a regular basis, as Fergus stated that an old dwarf friend of his named Luke was found in an alley with his throat cut, with the madam of the brothel later selling his body parts for divination purposes. It's hard to imagine Claire is in the mood for Tom Christie, who has the audacity to complain that Claire took too long returning to the house and that he'd been waiting for a long time. He claims that his one hand is now recovered to the point that he can have surgery on the other. He, on the other hand, does not want any of Claire's drink, preferring to have his arm restrained while Jamie pours whiskey down his neck and reads scripture. Claire also offers Christie a bucket in case he needs to puke. Malva is having a lot of fun with young Ian as Christie is screaming the place down with his hand cut open. They talk about sin, family, and their eternal fates together. Malva even reveals that her mother was hanged as a witch when she was a child, which might explain her interest in Claire's treatment. Over the next few days, they appear to get along swimmingly, almost kissing in a field. Marsali is trying to help Fergus with his alcoholism back at Fraser's Ridge, but he isn't having it. Because he rejects the idea of being aided or protected by a woman, it's safe to assume toxic masculinity was alive and well in the 1700s. When Marsali insists she's capable of pitching in and taking care of the family, she reveals that she killed Lionel Brown by injecting him with water hemlock from a syringe. This is insufficient to calm Fergus, and he is eventually ejected after Marsali pours a pitcher of booze over his head. Claire's flashbacks about her trauma with Lionel and his guys continue to be triggered by the smallest comment. It's Jamie's joke about them becoming the grandparents of demon-born Henry Christian this time, and she swiftly leaves herself to check on Tom, who stayed overnight for observation following his operation. One can't help but think she's going to her studio to get some ether. Christie, on the other hand, wakes up and begins chatting to her before she can. He's as obnoxious as ever, chastising her for not wearing a suitable cap since she's a pious married woman, and quoting scripture. She tries to teach him how to exercise his hand muscles so they don't tighten up as it heals, and she even cooks him dinner before abandoning him and returning to bed. She and Jamie talk about how strange Christie is about having any contact with a woman in bed. He added that men at Ardsmuir were so anxious for touch that they would occasionally turn to one another, but Christie would turn inward. It's quarter day near the end of the program, which means rents and other profits are due. It's a wonderful occasion, but Fergus ruins it by becoming too drunk and fighting with a couple, the McGregors, who refer to Henry Christian as grotesque. Before the brawl is broken up, Fergus throws wine in the woman's face and begins pummeling the man. Later that day, it takes a genuine pep talk from Jamie himself to figuratively smack some sense into Fergus. The young man has gone into a clearing to commit himself, but Jamie is there to stop him and remind him that he is a man to be proud of and that he has much to contribute as a father and in general. Jamie appears to have just needed those few words to restore him to his former self, because when they return to Fraser's Ridge, he vows Marsali that, "Drink, are you going to abandon her?" He also grabs Henry hand Christians and grins a joyful smile at the baby. The advent of the Redcoats brings the week to an end. They've brought a lot of weaponry for the Cherokee, assuming that the Native Americans will be loyal to them in the approaching fight. Claire is concerned about their coming, as she appears to know more about American history than the majority of spectators. We quickly learn, however, that the Boston Tea Party has just begun, prompting Claire to remark, "It's starting. It's almost here. The storm, the war." That does appear to be the situation. Now that's it for today. Let us know in the comments section what your thoughts are about Outlander C6 Episode 3, and if you are as excited as us about the series. Remember to like and subscribe to our channel, for more videos like this.